Welcome back to another episode of the Humble Hustle Podcast.
Hello, hello.
We are your hosts, Nick Jones and Kayla Ebner. And today we are going to talk about why your gear matters. Does your gear matter? Something like that?
Yes.
But we kind of want to just hop in today real quick to just do a little recap on, what we've been up to the past couple weeks.
Yeah. I did a stupid thing. I
That's
did
one way to start it.
such a dumb thing. Long story short, my lovely friend Kaylee was coming over to visit me. We were having dinner and just to catch up. And she is getting into the field of videography. She's got a full-time job, but she wants to do some stuff on the side, and she's really good at it. She helped me at a couple things last year. I'll have her help me with a couple things this year, and she's just really looking to get into it more. And I had bought some new lights recently, the ones that we're using today. Got the idea from you.
All right.
And the Godox VL series, right?
Yeah.
And I was
Great
previously using GVMs, which was like the RGB panels. You could do different color lights with them and everything. And I just found I wasn't really using the color panels as much as I thought I was. So that's why I upgraded to these. And I was like, I wonder if Kaylee would be interested in getting these lights. And I would sell them to her for super cheap and see if, I could help her out. And so that night I sent her home with the lights so she could try them out and see what she thinks. I failed to remember that I have yet to buy new light stands for my lights.
So you gave her the lights and the light stands?
I gave her both because it's all in one box.
Okay.
Very compact box. And I had a headshot shoot the next day with a new client.
Right.
Which means I have lights and no stands to put them on. And at this point, it's like 8 p.m. I don't remember exactly when I realized, oh shit, I fucked up. And I forgot these lights, or the stands. But it was too late to call a store to see if they had one. So I was like, oh my God. So the next day, miraculously, my shoot was in Providence. And it was at 10 a.m. Miraculously, there is a Hunts photo and video.
Shout out to Hunts, yeah.
On the way to the shoot. And it opens at 9 a.m. A lot of them open at 10 a.m.
Yeah, you're
I need
really
to
lucky
emphasize
your shoot
this.
wasn't at 10.
I'm so lucky that this was open, and I called them as I was on my way there. I was 10 minutes away. They opened at 9, and I called them and I was like, hey, do you have any light stands? This is an SOS emergency. And they had the damn light stands, and I was able to buy them and get to my shoot in time, and it all went great. That was a heart attack moment for sure.
No, literally the morning on your drive down, I get a video from Kayla and it's her in her car having this panic attack and explaining to me the issue and freaking out and just praying. This was at 8:50. So Hunts wasn't open yet. So she didn't know. And she was like, I'm just praying that they're going to open and I'll call them as soon as they do and see what they have. And I was like, good luck.
Yeah.
it was hilarious.
Not my finest moment. I don't do things like that often, but when I do, I need to check myself a little bit, humble myself. Haha. No pun intended. But seriously, it was such a, really, Kayla? Really?
Yeah.
So that's my story. We make mistakes, we move on, we learn from them. And now I have new light stands.
I was going to say, you got new light stands.
They're great.
You didn't rent them, you actually bought them.
I bought them.
You kept them.
Yes. They're working out great. So yeah, there you have it.
Perfect. Let's see. So recently, Kayla and I worked on a project together. It was fairly large. Okay, this is funny to me because normally it's a standard shoot. It's me, maybe one other person, maybe a third person. And it's just us, the client, filming some videos, right? Really basic. Just I'm the videographer. I'm just doing my thing. So I go on this shoot and I walk in and we had third-party assistants, basically, some gaffers and some grip dudes just at the studio to help us out. And I walk in, they start talking to us and they ask me, so which one of you is the videographer? Who's the DP? And I know these terms, right? I just knew what they meant, but I've never been called that before or labeled myself as the DP. So I literally like paused. And I was like, oh, I guess that would be me.
I remember that.
So
I remember that.
that was just a weird moment. I was like, I've never been called that before. Like
For those who might not know, what is a DP?
director of photography, which is essentially like you're in charge of the video.
I was really surprised to learn that the director of photography is also the video person. It's not photography.
Yeah, it's a little misleading.
It's really weird because I shot a music video, was that last year or the year before? And my label was the director of photography. And I was like, oh, that's fun. That was my first exposure to that term. It's very interesting.
I forget where I first heard it, but yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'm not saying I know all these terms, like proper definitions, but my version of it is like, you know, you're like the head videographer, basically, is what I think is safe to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yep.
it was a good shoot and like one of the larger, probably the largest quote unquote crew that I have personally like managed, which is a good experience for me. I was talking to Kayla off the mic earlier of like asking her honestly, you know, what her thoughts were and how I was able to manage that.
I told him he was shit.
She did at first.
No, for real, you killed it. It was a very, for all the moving parts in it and how quickly it was pulled together, you absolutely nailed it. I didn't feel overwhelmed or stressed even when we were moving at a very fast pace to kind of get it all done. It was really well put together and the studio was gorgeous.
Well, I appreciate
So
that.
nice.
And yes, the studio was amazing. Hopefully, I still don't know, like, I'm curious to see what the rate is for like how much it costs to
know,
rent.
we
Because
don't-
I want to
yeah.
go back.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be like $500 an hour or some
know, I could
crazy
see
thing like
that.
that, then I don't
could
want to
see
do that.
It was in Providence. I forget, what was it called? Are we allowed to say?
I believe it was called the Slate Studio. I don't know if I couldn't tell if they were like a production company or literally just a studio rental.
I think it was both.
It was confusing.
Yeah, but there were like
Very cool
multiple
space.
rooms, multiple spaces.
And all the employees, super helpful.
Very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Yep. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
So then you have another kind of
Oh,
fun
yeah.
announcement.
So the same night that I gave my lights away to my friend Kaylee, she also told me about a trip she had just booked to Iceland with her friend Lexi. And she was telling me all about it and that the Northern Lights are projected to be like the strongest they've been in like 11 years. And I was like, I'm so jealous. And she said, you should come.
Why not?
And I was like, I can't do that. What? Wait, I know. I can't crash your trip. I started making all these excuses because, like, for me, I think I mentioned this before. I'm kind of a creature of habit. I'm not necessarily the one who's going to go and just like book a spontaneous trip.
Not
And I've had opportunities to do that before and I haven't done it. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, talk to your friend, make
I was
sure
gonna
it's
say, how
okay.
are you close with both of them or just?
Just Kaylee. I know Lexi from growing up. Like we went to the same school. She's younger than me, I think by a year or two. And she worked in like the journalism world too. She moved to California recently. So her and Kaylee don't get to see each other and they book like these really fun trips together. It's amazing. I love
That's
that for
fun.
them.
Yeah.
So I know her, just not as well as Kaylee.
Okay.
And so I was like, just ask her, make sure she's okay with it. And I was like, I'm down. I'll do this. And sure enough, like 2 days later, I booked the trip. So we're going to
That's awesome.
Iceland. I'm so excited. I'm scared. It's cold and windy. I've heard.
Wait,
You've been talking.
What month are you going?
I'm going February 21st.
That's very close to when I went. I think I went in March.
Okay.
I think.
They
So-
say that like the cutoff for seeing the Northern Lights is like March, right?
Which probably explains. I think I knew that going in that we were on the tail end, which explains why I didn't see them. Unfortunately,
sad for
I saw them
you.
on the plane over, and the pilot was like, "If you look to our left, you can see them." And like everyone woke up from their sleep and like rushed to the windows.
Oh yeah.
But then after that, all the flight attendants were like, "Yeah, you can't be doing this. You got to sit down."
Oh
I'm like, "Dude, the pilot just told us to."
Yeah. You think I'm not gonna go look?
Exactly. So
the
and
Northern
especially if it's my
Lights?
only chance, I'm looking.
Yeah.
So luckily, I saw the view from my seat.
Yeah.
Like I was just by the window, so I saw.
Oh my god.
But so many other people were like trying to like climb over just to see out
yeah.
the windows. I was like, but
Jesus.
So yeah,
So
I sent you
sad.
my itinerary that we
Yeah.
had for my trip. So hopefully you can like cross-reference and
Yes, you did a
see.
lot.
We crammed as much as we possibly could.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you have to go back multiple times. You can't just go once.
Absolutely. This time
It's-
I want to go back in like the warmer-ish.
It
Not
looks
so much
amazing.
because I hate the cold. Like it was cold, but I mean, I'm from New Hampshire. It's not
Right.
honestly like
You
as
dress
extreme as that
warm, you're
sounds, it's
fine.
not even that different. Like it feels it's cold. Cold is
I've
cold.
heard it's just windy at this time.
a little
so,
bit.
So flying the drone will be tough. Did you fly the drone? Oh no.
Yes, I.
Oh no.
Okay. Quick story here. So when I went to Iceland, our friend Alex, who I've mentioned many times already on this podcast, we were learning how to fly FPV. And for those of you who don't know, it means first person view drones. It's a lot more complex and the learning curve is a lot steeper than like a normal DJI drone. So like normal drones, you can let go of the controller and it'll just chill, hover in the air. With FPV, if you let go of your controller, it will fall to the ground. You have to be completely manually controlling it at all times. Like
didn't
if you want to
know
hover, you have to constantly be moving the sticks.
I didn't know that. Wow.
So we were still learning, and like we trained prior. Like Alex and I would go to like these open fields and just train together.
Smart.
And so we brought 2 FPVs drones, and like between the 9 of us, I think we had like 4 or 5.
There were 9 of you?
Yeah, it was a lot. Wow. We had like 4 or 5 normal drones. So there was a lot of drones.
A lot
with
of
us.
drones.
Out of those like 4 or 5, 2 of them did not make it back.
Oh no.
So I knew 100% my FPV drone was not coming back from this trip before I left.
Okay.
They're built to crash. Like that's how challenging it is. Like you crash
Wow.
and that's normal. Like in training, I've crashed so many times. So I flew a little more, what I'll say aggressively than Alex did or does. So like the chance of me crashing and losing it was way higher than him. He was
Yeah.
a little more conservative and smart.
Okay. Well, it's Iceland.
So I was like trying to, do these little things, flying down a river. And I was like, all right, nice. There was a bridge. I flew through like the truss of this bridge.
my God.
Nice, got it. And then I could have simply just turned around, brought it back to me. Simple, right? Me, being the dumbass that I am, tried to do a flip in midair to just have some fun. And then, because I've done it in training all the time. Turns out, didn't flip fast enough, couldn't pull up fast enough, fell in the river.
No.
So I lost my FPV drone in the Godafoss River. Wow. And then Alex lost his Mavic by crashing it into a cliff.
Oh God. Oh
So
man.
those are the 2 drones that did not make it back.
R.I.P. That sucks. I mean, yeah, but like you said, it's to be expected. You're doing some risky shots.
Yeah. And I mean, the few shots that I did get, I was happy with.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Wait. How far into the trip did you crash?
this was on like day 3 or 4.
Okay, so at least
like,
you had some.
we definitely
footage.
had a few good locations prior to that I was able to fly at. Like every chance I got, I flew, just knowing
Yeah.
that this could be the last chance.
I guess, yeah. I mean, and I've seen people fly those FPV drones before. You wear like goggles, don't you?
Yep.
Ugh. I would
It's
get
very
so sick.
disorienting. I can't even do it standing up because I fall over. I need to be like sitting down.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm good with my normal drone. I'm good with that. So I'm definitely gonna bring it. I'm really excited to see if we can get some cool shots.
It's
So-
impossible to get bad photos.
Oh, that's
like
so awesome.
wherever you are, any direction you look will be a good photo. I promise you that.
The only worry with places like that is it's not going to ever touch what it looks like in person. Like, I just think sometimes it's so hard to capture the beauty of what you're seeing right in front of you. But I'm looking forward to that kind of challenge, and I wanna get some sort of like attachment for my camera where I can do a time lapse in case we see the Northern Lights, because I know in a lot of videos you see of the Northern Lights, it's like sped up. So, because they don't move that quickly in person. So I want to like get some gear so that I can get some really cool shots. And I'm just praying we see the Northern Lights. Praying.
I'll be
I probably
praying
won't
for you.
leave until I do. I'm gonna be like
We tried
crazy.
multiple times. Like it'd be like 10 o'clock at night, clear sky. We'd all go out and like wait for like 30 minutes and like hope
Yeah.
and nothing. And then the rest of the nights were like cloudy, so we knew we weren't gonna see it. But anytime there was a clear night, we tried.
Yeah. That's the tough part is it's kind of subject to the weather, and there's like an app you can use to track the likelihood of
Like the percentage of it happening. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's like 30%, but we're gonna try anyway.
Yes. I know. Oh, I feel so sad. Well, you'll have to go back.
Hopefully you'll be luckier than we were.
I know. I hope so too. But yeah, that's my spontaneous. I'm like really psyched that I booked it, and I'm thankful that my friends are letting me come with them, crash their trip. So yeah, Iceland, less than a month. I'm psyched.
That's exciting. Yeah,
So
less than a month.
psyched.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a little bit of a rant,
Hell
but
yeah.
it actually segues a little bit because we talked about gear a little in that little rant.
A little bit.
So to flow into that, we're going to deep dive into kind of our gear, talk about what our opinions are on, does it actually matter? So first off, let's kind of talk about our personal kind of kits. So like, what are you using currently?
I use Canon. I have always been team Canon since the first camera I got. I honestly don't even remember what the first actual body I got was. I think it was like the 70D or something. But my dad got it for me for Christmas one year. And, once you start investing in gear, it gets expensive. So I think I just stuck with Canon because I had lenses for it and other equipment.
Yep.
And so that's what I use to this day. I have the Canon R6, and then I have an R6 Mark II. Looking to upgrade the R6 pretty soon because I'm shooting a lot of 4K, and the R6 overheats when you shoot 4K.
Well, okay. You've had a few issues though.
We can't get into that today. Canon, you got me fucked up with the issues that I was having.
Had a couple issues.
I'm not exaggerating. Since August of last year, I was sending in my Mark II because it wasn't stabilizing and it was losing focus. It could not focus on anything for a second, and it was horrible. And I had been sending it back, and like the first time they said they adjusted the positioning of the sensor, and then I went and I was shooting a wedding. Thankfully, at the end of the night, it happened, but I got an error message on the screen. And I shut the camera off, and the error message was still on the screen. Like the camera was off, screen was still on. It was a mess.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then so I sent it back, and then they replaced the entire circuit board. And then the third time, it still wasn't working when they sent it back to me that way. So the third time I sent it back, they gaslit me, and they were like, we can't replicate the issue. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I had to like stalk them to get them to let me speak to an individual who knew what was going on. Like customer service does not see the camera. The factory service does. So I was like, if you do not put me on the phone with a supervisor from the factory service, I'm going to lose my mind. I was annoying. I had to be the most annoying customer. And finally, I got on the phone with someone from the factory service who was like a manager there. And he was like, well, I don't know why they haven't just replaced the sensor. And I was like, okay, can you do that?
Tell them to do that.
Yeah. So they replaced the sensor, and it's finally working again. It's still not as good as my R6, like the stabilization and the focus, which is frustrating because that's the one that overheats in 4K. It's been a nightmare, to be honest. Like I've never had an issue with Canon before this, but this was a terrible, terrible experience. So I'm a little on the fence.
Might be time for an upgrade. Maybe the R5,
Yeah.
R3
Yes.
even.
I was thinking about the R5. So maybe, who knows, coming soon. But yeah, I shoot Canon for now.
For now. Air quotes around.
Yeah.
But I started at Canon. So I had a T6 for my first like DSLR. Outgrew that really quickly. Stayed in the Canon family. Got the 80D. The 80D was made famous by Casey Neistat. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah.
YouTube
Yes.
He like religiously used the 80D for like years. Solid camera.
Yeah.
Great intermediate camera. For
Yeah.
like when I got it, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a huge upgrade. It was still a crop sensor. And at that time, I still barely even knew the difference.
Right.
So I was like, okay, it can shoot video, cool. Can take good photos, cool.
Yep.
When I had that body, I never invested in good lenses. All my lenses were like super cheap.
Yeah.
I think I had like 2 kit lenses, like a 18 to 55 and like a 70 to 300, but it's like, f5, f6, something like that. But then I bought like a Tokina, which is like super cheap, not good quality brand of lens, but it was like my wide angle because I wanted to do YouTube stuff. So it was like a 14, like 11 to 20 mil, but crop censored. That was more like a 16 to 35 type vibe.
Okay.
So that was what I used probably 90% of the time on this camera because I was like trying to vlog on this camera.
Okay. Oh my God, I need to see a Nick Jones vlog.
I
so
privated most of them.
All right, you're going to have to show me after. Maybe on our 100th episode, we will premiere Nick Jones vlogs.
My first videos are like so bad. Like so bad.
It's the growth like we talked about.
But anyway, after that, I think I kept that until I was right about to take that professional step of like starting a business. So I knew in order to start a business, I needed a professional camera. I can't get away with this. So the Canon R5 and the Sony A7S III were coming out roughly about the same time. It was 2020, I think. I think the R5 came out first by like a couple weeks. And I pre-ordered the A7S III. But I was still on like the wait list basically. I couldn't get it right when it came out because they were like back ordered, so I just had to wait. So I got lucky actually. I'm not positive about this because it was years ago, but I'm pretty sure before I got my A7S III, I was lucky enough to test out the R5 because I used to work with Alex on weddings and he rented the R5 for a wedding. I think this is the proper order. If I'm wrong, sorry. But we shot this entire wedding on the R5. And we were shocked because of the fact that the biggest thing about the R5 was that it overheats. And that was its biggest downfall when it was released. However, we did not experience this problem. And the funny thing was, at the end of the night, at the reception, we had shot everything on the R5. We looked at it in like the middle of the dance floor, realized that we were shooting 8K the entire day on accident.
What?
We did not mean to do that. We normally just shoot in 4K, but this camera can shoot in 8K.
Wow.
And it didn't overheat all day. So we were like, is that overheating like even real? Because like clearly we shot in 8K all day.
That's crazy. The file size must have been a nightmare.
Luckily, that wasn't my problem to deal with. Second shooter
there you
life.
Go. Love that. Oh my gosh, beautiful.
So yeah, like I've never had a bad experience with Canon. I like them. Image is great. Everyone always says, quote unquote, the color science of Canon, blah blah. Like whatever. It's fine. Like it's good. But I switched the A7S III and I made that jump because I didn't invest in any good Canon glass prior. Like I said, all my lenses were cheap.
Yep.
I had no real need to stay in Canon. I had the freedom to choose at this point because I had like 3 lenses, but they were all probably total less than $1,000.
Yeah.
So like there's no investment there.
Now is the time to change if you're gonna change.
Me doing all the research. I think all cameras are good, and like Canon and Sony, both great for photo and video.
Yep.
But I knew that I wanted to do majority video, and the A7S III is designed for mostly video capabilities.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then like I think lens options on both sides are great. However, the Canon R series are new. So like the RF lenses are all new. So there's not that many.
Right.
The ones that exist, probably the best glass in the industry.
Fantastic.
Best glass ever. So good.
So good.
But there's not a ton of variety.
Right.
Yet. Like there will be, but they're still like new.
Yep.
The Sony lenses have been around forever. So there's like any focal length you could possibly imagine exists in the Sony world. So not that was a huge leaning point for me, but just knowing that I had options for lenses and I never had to even think about, does this lens even exist? That was another thing. But it was really just the video capabilities.
Right. Makes sense.
For those of you who understand this language, it has dual native ISO. So it can shoot at like 640 ISO, which is what I'm doing right now, which is like its base. But it can also shoot at 12,800 ISO and not be grainy. It basically like resets. So like 10,000 ISO, super, super grainy, unusable. As soon as you hit 12,000, it cleans right up.
What?
And it can be clean for maybe like 1 or 2 extra stops.
That's insane.
So like weddings in particular, during the reception, I always use that. Like any low light features or any low light scenarios, I can just crank it up to 12,800 ISO.
Holy cow.
And basically pitch black can be usable.
That is insane. That's amazing.
Really useful.
That's life-changing. Yeah, because I have experienced a number of weddings. I mean, I've actually done a ton of events recently where I've had to go pretty high cranking the ISO, and it's tough. So
anytime I get past like 2,500, I just jump straight to 12,800.
Wow.
Like the 4,000 to
your
10,000 range is too grainy for my liking. Wow. I just skip it. I'm like, nope, time
That's
to go.
Insane. Go Sony. Go off. Pop off, Sony.
Yeah. I mean, and they have good cinema cameras. So Canon does too. And probably sometimes in the near future, I'll maybe get one. But for right now, these mirrorless ones are totally fine.
Yeah. I love them. I really, like I said, haven't had any issues other than the recent ones, which have been enough for years. Which have been enough for all the years I've owned Canon cameras. But yeah, so talking about this gear, you mentioned something really important, which was when you were upgrading, when you were thinking about starting a business with it, you said, I knew I needed to have professional gear.
Yeah.
So
it's
what's
a very
your opinion?
common question.
It's highly debated.
Of, when people are getting into that professional level, does, the quality of the gear matter? Do I need a professional camera? The short answer, in my personal opinion, is yes, it matters.
Fuck yes.
So,
the answer is fuck yes. I have a very strong opinion about this.
How about you go first then?
Sure. I hear all the time that it's not the gear, it's the person who's doing it.
There's truth to that.
Yes,
I'm not going to deny that.
There's truth, 100%. But you can also hand a 10-year-old an iPhone and they can take a really solid video. So you can argue that the person matters, but not to the degree of which I think it's emphasized in our field. I think like you really need to be well-versed. If you're doing it professionally, you need to be well-versed. You need to know what you're doing. But if you handed me, like if I was using the gear that I started with, I wouldn't be able to produce nearly the quality of what I do now. Gear matters more than I think people give it credit for.
I agree.
I think they're equal.
Yeah, it's like, what am I trying to say? Basically, there's knowledge that we have as like videographers and like camera operators. Like we know the settings that are required for the camera, and that's like one thing. Knowing what settings the camera itself is capable of, and then what settings are optimized for like the best viewing experience, the image quality, the final product, basically. So like I'm talking shutter speed, aperture, and like
frame rate,
exactly.
all that. Yeah.
So if you have a camera that isn't capable of giving you those like customability and like those options, then you're going to be extremely limited in what you're going to be able to do. So if you have like a $400 camera, which is, okay, this is going to sound ironic because I literally just saw a full-time filmmaker video about this topic.
Ooh.
And they were like kind of contradicting what we're saying.
Oh.
They're saying that it doesn't matter, that they could make a video with $400. So
I mean, yeah, but
like, okay, it's kind of along the lines of what I'm saying. Like there's the skill level that the person has. The camera operator knows how they can optimize what is given in front of them. And I completely believe in that. Like we have skills that allow us to make the image look good, but it comes down to what is the camera itself capable of. If the camera can't shoot 4K, it's not the end of the world. 1080p is okay. So like that's doable. But if it can't shoot in like a certain frame rate, or if you can't screw on like an ND filter and get the proper shutter speed to make the motion blur look proper, and like small things like that is like what the videographers know what to do.
Yes.
The average person won't know how to do that. So if you give them that camera, it'll look bad. They'll probably just turn it to auto and it'll just look very
mediocre.
Yeah, exactly.
Or bad.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, if I personally had a $400 camera, I would know what to do to, optimize the settings and, optimize my chance of making it look good. But even, any post-production editing skills that I possess to like enhance it any way I can, I still don't think I could produce anything near as good as I can with this $3,500 camera.
Right.
Like, I can try my best and it's probably going to be better than the average person, but it's not going to be to the standard that I want it to be and what I would call professional.
Yes. And I think that's really just the distinction of, are you trying to do this professionally, or are you freelancing, or are you just doing it as a hobby? Like what are you trying to accomplish, and what are you trying to charge people? If you're trying to charge people in the multiple thousands of dollars for a project, great. If you feel like you deserve that, that's fine. But if you're not shooting with a really decent professional camera and you're not like shooting 4K and using those kinds of settings and able to get a very clear picture quality, like you're not going to, it's just, it doesn't add up.
So
math ain't mathin'.
Math ain't mathin'. I want to kind of talk about phones because it goes hand in hand. So an example I have is like, say you were to hire someone to film like your wedding and they showed up holding an iPhone, running around on an iPhone. You would probably not want to pay that person as much as you would pay someone who has like this entire rig of like a big gimbal and a huge camera, multiple lenses and stuff like that.
Yep.
Visually, the gimbal dude looks clearly more professional than some random person holding up their iPhone.
Yes.
That being said, iPhones are phenomenal.
Right.
Arguably the best smartphone camera. There are a bunch of good ones. Honestly, now it's similar cameras to phones. Phone cameras nowadays, all of them are good.
It's crazy how good they are. It's so nuts.
The iPhone 15 Pro Max in particular, some of the most professional video features out of any smartphone ever. It can shoot 4:2 to 10-bit Apple log. Like it can shoot log footage now.
So crazy.
The file format or file sizes are huge.
Right.
But you can now, since they're USB-C, you can plug in an external hard drive to your phone and record terabytes of footage straight to like a hard drive. So like that's not even really an issue anymore. But the fact that they can shoot log, more dynamic range, more color customability, you can really, professionals that is, can really make iPhone footage comparable to our like professional cameras. Like a bunch of Apple promotional content is filmed on iPhones.
And then it tells you shot
and it's
on
not
iPhone.
even like they attach a bunch of things to the iPhone itself. It's
just
literally
the
just a
phone.
frame holding up the iPhone.
Yep.
That's how confident they are in their product. I think Olivia Rodrigo filmed like a short little music video on the iPhone, a bunch of other random little promotions, all on the iPhone. So like people who know what they're doing and have those skills can use an iPhone in professional settings.
Yes.
But a lot of the time they have massive crews. They have all the editing help and stuff like that. It's not normally one individual. So then we go back to real life, not the professional world. This wedding example. If you have just the average person who's like filming around on an iPhone, they're not going to have it in log. They're not going to have their settings set to like 422 10-bit. They're just going to set it to like the most basic settings, the default Apple camera settings, which are not optimized for professional filmmaking. And they're just going to hold their phone around and wave it around, film some random clips.
Yep.
And Sure, it'll look fine,
Perfectly fine.
but it'll look like iPhone footage.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious when it, like, if you look at a clip in the first 2 seconds, you can tell it's just a smartphone clip.
Right.
So, like, the average person who owns a smartphone, which is most people, can film the video, but it won't look anything like if a professional was.
Right.
But then going into that a little more, I might have the skills to turn iPhone footage into something nice,
Cinematic.
but you would never catch me running around with just an iPhone at a wedding.
Yeah.
Maybe in like 8 years or something like that, phones would surpass, maybe.
Yeah.
But like as of right now, even with all the professional features, it's still easier, more convenient to use professional cameras, DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, whatever.
Yes.
Because yes, are phones physically capable of filming this quality? Sure. But then there's a couple other hurdles and like stuff you need to do that's a little more intensive in the settings wise, post-processing. It's a little more, I don't know, intense, that stuff, more effort you need to put into that than just straight out of the normal mirrorless cameras that we use.
Right. And then you're not even thinking about like audio. You can't necessarily attach a really high quality microphone to an iPhone. I mean, you can get a microphone, but
Right.
the gear is, I think, more limited. Like the external settings are a lot more limited when you're using an iPhone.
That's true. That's true.
Also, I think looks matter a little bit.
It does.
Looks matter.
Absolutely.
When, like you were talking about that wedding example, and even like lighting equipment and small things. Like if you show up to a shoot and all you have is a phone, it's going to come
gonna look
across
like
a
a
lot
fool.
differently. Yeah, you're going to look like a little bit more of an amateur style.
Absolutely.
And listen, if you're starting out, do it. That's awesome. Like get started with your phone.
It's because you are an amateur.
Yes,
There's
that's
no
fine.
There's no
Like,
need to feel bad about that. If you
100%.
actually are, fine.
Yes, but there
If
is a
you're-
difference when you show up and you have multiple bags and the gear is there, like lighting, sound, all of that. It matters. It makes a difference.
It
what people
absolutely does.
see.
Like, that's kind of why, like you saw last week, I have this like grip cart. So
Yeah.
like, I used to just have this small bag, which is still like, you know, it's a substantial thing. It's a big black bag that holds all like the tripods and light stands and whatnot. So like just carrying that in, you know, definitely would put me above the level of someone who just came in with their camera backpack. Like I'm carrying an additional thing. But then you see me walking in with this giant cart full to the
wagon.
brim of like
Of stuff, yeah.
expensive looking stuff.
Expensive. And it's not just expensive looking.
Yeah,
She's
it's
expensive.
also expensive actually.
It's actually expensive.
So like, yeah, having the client see me carrying that in, like, is it functional? Absolutely.
Oh, God,
and it
yeah.
saves me trips.
We used like every piece in that wagon of yours. We used almost everything.
Yeah, so it is functional.
Yes.
But it
It's not
also
just for
is
show.
for show.
Some of it is for show.
Yeah.
It's functional.
Yeah.
For
The
show.
important thing is that it's still functional.
But it does. It makes a difference. And I also think a lot of my clients I work with are businesses, and a lot of them are small businesses. And I tell them all the time, you don't need to be posting 100% professionally filmed content. Like throw in some casual iPhone stuff. Like the best things I've ever done for some of my clients is give them tips on how to shoot a halfway decent video on their phone. And the combination of it, like the casual versus the professional, especially on certain platforms like TikTok and Instagram, which are a little bit more casual,
Yeah.
and casual stuff performs well. The combination of that, as long as they're posting consistently, I think it's great to mix in the iPhone stuff with the professional stuff, you know? Because not everyone's going to have the ability to film 100% of their content professionally. It's just unrealistic.
That's true. That's true.
So I do tell my clients, like, you know, I can't be there all the time. Get me, you know, a couple clips that we can use, you know?
What about like, not necessarily camera gear in specific, like you including that, but gear, technology in general? What's your view on that of like buying the newest thing all the time? Are you the type of person that always buys the newest and brightest thing? Or are you kind of like good with the previous generation of things?
Normally with my phone, I like to upgrade like every 2 years. But I'm still rocking
Okay.
the 12 right now, which is crazy. I'm looking to upgrade soon. I want the 15 bad. I want it bad. I see all these other people using it. I'm like, oh, I need it. I do. I mean, in that instance, phones I think have a much shorter shelf life than cameras do.
Absolutely. I also roughly that 2 year turnaround time for phones.
Yeah, but
is what I live by.
my Canons last 5, 6+ years. Like they are just more sturdy. I think iPhones, isn't there a rumor out there that iPhones are like built to fail after a certain amount of time? So you need to buy another
I'm
one?
pretty sure it's actually a fact.
I think so.
Like I
they're
don't know
meant to
how many
deteriorate.
generations it takes for it to happen, but like we're on the 15 right now. Like
Yeah.
the 12s are probably at that point where Apple has purposely done something
She's
to
shutting down on me.
not have the 12s be optimized.
It's dying
anymore.
way quicker. The battery's dying way quicker. I'm like, how is
Yeah,
this
the battery
happening?
thing is real.
Yeah, it's real for sure. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Cameras last way longer than phones, I think. So that's
What about
another
like
thing.
other things, like laptops, other pieces of tech in your life?
Laptops, honestly, too. Laptops last longer, I would say, but I still need to like. I think I got my new one when I graduated college, and I'm at the point where I'm gonna need to get one in the next couple years. So that's like 5 years,
Okay.
a little bit less probably.
Would you say you're like tech savvy, or like do you actually like technology, or do you only use it because you have to for like your work and stuff?
I like it. I like learning about, I mean, sometimes it can be frustrating because it does move at such a quick pace and things are constantly changing, but I do like it. I think technology is an amazing thing. I think we need to embrace AI. It's happening whether we want it to or not. Like I'm all for it. I think it's great. ChatGPT is like the most insane thing I've ever seen, and that's only the beginning.
Yep.
I think embracing technology is what everyone needs to kind of do because it's coming whether or not we want it to, you know?
Yeah. No, I love tech. Like I wouldn't say I'm like a gearhead. Maybe a little bit, but like there are like a handful of tech YouTubers. I don't know if you know them by name, like iJustine and like MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee. They're like the king and queen, I would say, of the
You're
tech
definitely more into it than I
YouTube
am.
space. And so they pretty much any relative piece of tech that comes out, not just camera stuff, like random stuff, like home tech, smart home tech,
Ooh, yeah.
a new refrigerator, like random stuff
new
like that.
refrigerator.
Like they will look at review like new TVs and stuff like that. Like
Samsung hits them up and they're like, this is our new refrigerator. Can you test it
yeah,
out?
pretty much.
That's crazy. Wow.
So I always watch all their videos and like a couple other people just to like, see what's new, what
Yeah.
technology is advancing to nowadays. I find it interesting.
It is. It really is. It happens so quickly.
And I like having the newest thing all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm okay not having the newest phone every single year.
Yeah.
I'm not that spoiled.
Yes. Right.
But I mean, waiting 2 years isn't that much better, but
Right. Well,
it's a little better.
it's a little better.
But like laptops and stuff, I think I got my laptop and I got these cameras basically at the same time, that like 2020 area, I'm pretty sure. So both of them are still completely fine.
Yep.
I will say that. However, I just know like there's part of me that just wants the new ones.
Yes.
Like there's new Macs that have already come out that are spec wise exponentially better than this one I currently have. Realistically, like, will those specs translate to real life and like be exponentially better in real life? Probably not.
That's the
It'll
thing.
probably be like
The
slightly
minuscule
better.
thing. Yeah.
But
the mini jumps.
just knowing that I own the newest one satisfies
yes.
me.
New and shiny.
It's like I need it.
Yes. No, I agree.
But I'm also like, I don't want to spend $6,000 on a laptop
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
they're so expensive. It's gross. I'm kind of scared about that. There's like a few pieces of gear that I have now that I'm like, I'm gonna need to upgrade in the next couple years, and it could be painful if it happens all at once. It could be rough.
Yeah. Like
It's crazy.
that's the only thing. I wish tech was cheaper.
Oh yeah.
But I actually just bought my newest piece of tech actually was new wireless microphones. So you have the DJI mics.
I do. I
I
love
just
them.
got the DJI mic 2s.
Yes.
So I was debating.
Always needing the newest thing. There we go.
I was debating on so Rode just came out with some basically the same thing. Rode Wireless Pros, I think they're called.
Yep.
Those and these new DJI mic 2s are essentially the exact same thing.
Yeah.
There are a few like pros and cons to each, but they do basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, after a little evaluation, I'd be fine with either. But honestly, the DJI ones were a little cheaper. So I just opted for those.
Yeah. I think so. I had a unique experience where I had gotten to use the Rode mics. A client of mine had them, and we would use them for their shoots because they used it for TRX uses them for live classes. So
Yep.
they have the Rode mic that they put here. They attach their mic. It's like a headset, and they use them. So I had used those.
Okay.
And then I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on both of them. And then I talked to people who had used both types. And I just think, honestly, for me, the quality of it and like the look of the DJIs, I liked better for some
Yeah.
reason. Like the case it comes in,
Yep.
like the look of it. I know it's, both of them are kind of a little bit of a blocky looking thing.
The DJI ones are a little slimmer though. Like
Yeah,
it's
they
definitely
are.
noticeably slimmer.
Yeah. So I just, they both seem like they work great, but I love DJI as a brand. So I went with that.
I have the wireless Goes. I think the wireless Go
okay.
2 is from Rode. I own those. I
Okay.
just haven't used them in a long time. So the reason I'm getting these ones now is I use lav mics a lot for like my backup audio source.
Same.
Like I always have like the boom mic above the person, but I always like to have a lav mic attached for a backup.
Yes.
And I've been using the Tascam DR10s or something like that.
Okay.
Like, very standard
Oh yeah,
in the
those
wedding
ones
world.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love them.
So like great, they're fine. AAA batteries,
Yep.
easy. But they are not, 32-bit float, which I'm not an audio person, but I know these few terms. For those of you who don't know, it's basically like think of taking photos. A JPEG photo versus a RAW photo. A RAW photo, you're able to edit a lot more than a JPEG photo.
Yep.
Same thing with the audio. Non-32-bit is like a JPEG, which is like the current audio thing that I have. But these new DJI mics can record in this 32-bit,
Nice.
which gives it a little more flexibility.
Yeah. So in other words, if someone is a really loud talker and they clip,
There's basically no
there's
clipping.
no clipping.
Like you could be whispering 1 second and then screaming the next second, and it will compensate for it.
Yes. Okay.
So like
That's a good way to
it
put
gives
it.
me a lot of breathing room, so I can
Yeah.
basically I don't have to dial in the settings like perfectly.
Yes.
There's so much breathing room. Like it's good enough. The range will catch
Yeah.
it if they do choose to scream at some point.
One of my DR10 Tascams actually records a low level clip and a high level.
Yes. Yeah.
Which
I
is
do
kind of
that too.
cool. Yeah, I like that. That
It's-
gives you a little more flexibility.
It's a nice little
too.
backup.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, that's awesome that you can not have to worry about that at all.
So like the DR whatever's, those just
Yeah.
record internally to like the little micro SD card.
Which also scares me a little bit sometimes.
Oh, really? I prefer that. So like the Rode mics that I have and the DJI ones that you had, the first gen, those you plug into your camera.
Yep.
And like they can't record like internally to itself.
Oh, I think they can't. Mine can.
Oh, so
If
like
you hit a little
can't-
record button, if you hit like a button on the side, it records to the device itself.
Oh, you don't have to plug it in?
I plug it into Bluetooth it to the camera, but there's a record button on it that allows you to also simultaneously record a copy to the device, so you can plug it into the
okay.
to the computer after.
I guess
As
I'm
like a
not super
backup.
familiar. I didn't look into it too much.
Maybe you can. That would be sick.
Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But on
Yeah.
the new ones, I know for a fact you can.
Okay.
So like I don't need to plug into the camera at all. I can just use that teeny little puck
Oh yeah.
and just use that, put it in someone's
Yep.
pocket and run a lav up.
yes, which is really
Which
nice.
was replaced. It's basically like the DR10 thing,
Yep.
just smaller
Yes.
and 32-bit.
Yeah.
That's literally the only reason I bought it, to replace
100%.
the DR10s.
Yeah. No, they're great mics. I've never had an issue at all. It's a great piece of tech.
That was a little microphone tangent.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I guess the other thing we wanted to mention was selling our gear. So I don't know, you kind of wanted to talk about how, like, what the best ways to sell kind of?
Yeah, I have some stuff that I'm looking to upgrade, but the stuff that I have isn't bad. It's still perfectly in great use. I just want to get the next best thing, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, like, do you have any experience with selling your gear and like where to do it? Because it seems like it's kind of, I don't know, this gear is expensive. So how do you do that?
So what I've done in the past, which I've only done once or twice of actually selling to someone, I use Facebook Marketplace. And I think that's definitely one of the more common places to do this. There's other places like, there's other online reselling places, Depop, Mercari,
Yeah.
other whatevers. But Facebook Marketplace is probably the best, even eBay.
Yeah, I was going to say. Okay.
But Facebook, you can more or less verify them a little easier.
Yeah.
Like, because, they at least have like a Facebook profile.
Yeah.
You can like private message them, have like a real conversation prior. And then every time I've done it, I just meet them in like some public parking lot.
Yeah.
And it's like a drug deal. Like,
A drug
there was one time I think I've purchased more from Facebook Marketplace than I've sold.
Okay.
I actually, the camera I'm recording on right now, my secondary body, I bought from Facebook Marketplace.
Nice.
And I bought it from this dude. He's probably like roughly our age. And we met in, I believe, a Target parking lot.
Okay.
And, always tell someone where you're going.
Yes.
I think I told like 3 people, I'm like
Oh my
meeting this
God.
dude in
That
this
is so
parking lot. If I don't text you in like an hour, I'm dead.
He's kidnapped me.
So
Oh my God.
I was buying the camera body. So I brought with me a battery, an SD card, and like all my lenses. So I told him, I was like, I'm like not gonna like give you the money until I test it.
Yep. That's
So
a
I
good
like
idea.
spent like 10 or 15, 20 minutes plugging in all my lenses, my SD cards, making
Nice.
sure all the ports worked. And I took a bunch of test clips, test videos,
Oh my God.
test photos, whatever,
Wicked smart.
just in this parking lot.
Yes.
And then he's like, are you going to buy it or what, dude? I'm like, give me a minute. I'm still testing.
Oh my God.
So once I confirmed that everything worked, I was like, all right, here's your money. Thanks, bye.
That's crazy. Oh my God. That's smart though. Got to make sure it works. You never know.
Yeah.
Huh.
But
All right.
you
So
can
I'll have to do
definitely
that.
find stuff for cheap and it's easy to sell. Like if
Yes.
if you just want to get rid of it, it's fairly easy to just get rid of it on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
People are always going to be buying.
Yep. No, that's good to know. Okay. I'll have to look into that.
Are you trying to sell the R6?
Maybe. Yeah, I think so. I need to check if there's a software update that maybe got rid of the overheating issue.
Do you know what that went? Like,
If
would you
anybody
pay
knows,
for that
let me know.
new? Like 2,000?
Yeah, I think a little over 2,000. That one was a gift. That first one was like my first upgrade when I got my new job. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. But it still works. I think it stabilizes and focuses better than the Mark II.
Right.
So we'll see. If anyone's interested in buying it, hit me up.
I'm sure someone will. I mean,
Someone,
that's another thing actually. Just posting on social media.
Oh my God, true.
I mean,
Because we have so many like creative people. Yeah.
It doesn't always work because it really depends on who your following is. But yeah, if you have a lot of creative people who follow you
Yeah.
and are interested in camera gear, just post in your story, like say, hey, I'm selling this. Here's a picture of it.
Yep.
Here's a price. If you're interested, DM me.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because I think I'm going to get the R5 or another kind of like upgraded body. So it also couldn't hurt to have a third camera.
That's true. I want a third.
Yeah. I think that's definitely in the books. I also don't have a wide lens. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
The widest I have
known
is
that for a
24 to
little while, and
70.
I'm like, how do you do that?
It's wild. I'm starting to like do shoots where I need them, where I need like the wider angle. So I'll have to invest in that. That's one of the things that I'm like, okay, a new laptop.
That was my
a
first
new
professional
phone.
lens.
a wide lens, another body. I'm like, I can't do this all at once.
Nice $10,000-$15,000 right there.
Yeah. Yeah. 5 figures. Rough. Really rough.
Yeah. No,
So expensive.
that was my first G Master lens, the
Okay.
16 to 35. Like when I bought this camera, I bought that as a bundle.
Yeah.
Just because I knew I was doing YouTube and I knew that was like what I
Yes.
needed for YouTube.
Yeah.
If I wasn't doing YouTube, maybe I wouldn't have gotten it right away. But I mean, I have had one issue with it, so I had to have it repaired. But it's fine now.
It's fine now.
So it's still like a great lens.
Yeah.
And I use it all the time. Like real estate specifically, need it.
Yes. I know. I don't do real estate anymore. Thank God.
Like I know, I know someone who does real estate photos, but they don't own a professional wide lens.
Oh, that's wild. What do
And
they use?
I don't even know.
Oh,
But I just
gosh.
know their photos. I'm not gonna say their name, but I don't like how their photos look, and I can tell it's not a wide
Yeah.
view.
I couldn't do real estate with my 24 to 70. It's not wide enough. Because the goal in real estate photography and video is like make the room look as big as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, you definitely, I mean, whatever.
Like
it's to
I
each
use
their own.
16 millimeters. I know people who use like 11.
Yeah, 100%.
Like-
I think there's like a point where it gets too wide as well. Like sometimes it gets like distorted and I don't love the way it looks.
Then it's like too
it's wonky. It's like fisheye
Yeah.
level type stuff. Yeah.
right. So that's a little too far.
Yeah.
But 16 is good enough. You could probably go a little wider, but
Gets
yeah,
the job done.
anything that's maybe tighter than like I don't know 25, 24 ish.
Yeah.
It's 20, even though it's just 16 to 24, that little range, it is very noticeable.
It is super noticeable. It really is. Sometimes I can't even get like a third wall in a room with the 24,
That's
depending on
crazy.
how big it is. Yeah. So I would never attempt that. What about prime lenses? What's your thought on prime
I am
lenses?
huge on prime
Obsessed.
lenses. So like
Obsessed.
I only own two zoom lenses, and the secondary zoom I own is like so specialty. It's for weddings. It's a 70 to 180.
oh yeah.
Otherwise,
yeah.
I would
Yes.
never. I don't shoot telephoto ever.
Yep.
So like if I didn't have that, the only zoom lens I would own is the 16 to 35.
yeah.
I have a lot of lenses actually. I have a prime 24.
A prime.
I have a prime 20 or 35.
Mm-hmm.
I have a prime 50. I have a 90, and I want
prime
an
90.
85.
I
90 is
I
the-
thought you were gonna say 85. What is
The
a
90 is
90?
the macro lens that I
Oh
used the other
yes.
day.
Okay. I have a macro too. I like my macro lens. Yeah, I have a prime 50.
That's
That's like a great
Arguably my
lens.
favorite lens.
Yeah, 100%. I just bought a new one because my old one.
I want a new one.
the bucket.
Mine is a Sigma. So like Sigma's great.
yep.
And like their art series lenses, glass, really good. But it's heavy.
Yeah,
And-
mine's heavy. Mine's really heavy.
So I just want this is also like I don't know, like little OCD in me. Like I want all my lenses to be G Master.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the Sony 50 is the only one of mine that basically isn't.
Oh okay.
So I just want it to match. the
Yes,
rest.
yes, of course. They're also really good quality.
So good. So it's like
Yeah.
and Sigma is cheap. I bought my
They
Sigma
are.
50. It's a 1.4 50 mil. I'm pretty sure I bought it on sale
Mm-hmm.
for less than $800.
Oh wow. I need to look. Where'd you get that one?
I think just B&H.
Okay.
It was the same time I bought the first camera. I bought
Okay.
the camera, the 16 to 35 as a bundle,
Mm-hmm.
and then I saw that the 50 mil Sigma was on sale, so I
Yep.
bought that at the same time.
Smart. Yeah.
So I instantly had those two lenses.
Yep. That's great. Yeah, my 50 Canon one, the prime lens is so good. It's so heavy though.
It's so good though. Like on weddings, that's what I pretty much ride on all day for a wedding,
Hmm.
and like interview stuff. I love it.
Yep.
It's the way I describe it is it's a tight but wide view.
Yeah.
Like wide but tight.
yes.
Because what I like to do is I like to just physically back up
Mm-hmm.
so I can get someone's full body, but there is that little bit of compression
Yeah.
that I don't know. It just looks good.
Looks so
And then I
good.
always just shoot wide open at f1.4 because it looks good.
Yes.
So that combination, I just love.
Yeah. Seriously. It's wonderful.
Aside from that, the 35 is also my favorite lens.
Hmm.
Do you have a favorite?
My 24-70 is my go-to. I love my
Very
I love that
versatile.
lens. Yeah, you can do a lot with it, and the zoom is great. Like, you can shoot things wide, you can shoot things close up. I think it's perfect for a majority of the shoots that I do. It's amazing.
Is there any lens you have that you like barely use?
No, I use mostly all of my lenses. The macro one is the one that is like
I
pretty
didn't know you
specific.
had a macro.
Yeah, I don't even have it in my like main bag because it's so specific.
Yeah.
Like for engagement shoots, I'll zoom in on the ring and get it like a nice shot of the ring.
That's a good idea. I should probably start bringing it to weddings.
Yes. Oh my God.
I don't, but I probably should.
Yeah. Yep. That's a nice one. That's the one that I probably use the least. I use my 70-200 a lot because I used to do a lot of like sports photography and all that.
Okay,
Would love
yep.
to get back to that. But I love that lens too.
I think the one I use the least is maybe the macro, just because
Yeah.
you're right. It's so specialty.
Yep.
But then maybe the Prime 24. I used to like barely ever use it. And in my head, I was like, was this a waste? But luckily I bought it from a friend of a friend who like gave it to me for a pretty good price.
Oh, good.
So, but then after a few months, recently I have used it quite a lot. Like sometimes I'll try the 35 at first and I'm like, nope, it needs to be a little wider. So I throw in the 24.
Okay.
Also for most of my photography recently, I just stick on the Prime 24 and just run
Yeah.
around like that.
Yeah.
And
Is
that's
it what is it? A 2.8?
1.4.
It's a 1.4.
Yeah, like all my G Masters are 1.4.
Oh my God. Wait, that's a game changer. Damn.
Except for the 16 to 35. That's 2.8.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, all the primes are 1.4. That's why I like them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's, some would say basic to just shoot with the super blurry background, but it just looks good.
It looks
and it's
really,
very
really
hard to
good.
deny that it looks good.
Yeah. The only thing that there's a couple instances where I don't want to shoot that wide, like if I'm doing, that open, if I'm doing like headshots and stuff.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And I would also not do that for
Yeah.
those situations.
Yeah.
I know when not
But
to.
yeah. That's been something that I kind of have recently learned is I was so accustomed to shooting so open with the aperture, but sometimes it actually looks better if you don't shoot that open.
Like if you're doing a headshot and you're at 1.4, like their eye could be in focus, but the nose and ear
Yeah.
isn't. And it's like,
Crazy. Yeah.
and I also have learned more with the macro to not be wide open.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you're so close.
Yes.
I minimum actually for my macro, I shoot at f4.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear this beeping. Hopefully not. But there's like a truck backing up or something outside, and there's a lot of beeping happening right
Very
now.
loud. That was very loud.
Anyway,
Oh my God. Well, I think in conclusion, does your gear matter? Yes.
Yes.
Does the operator matter? Yes.
also yes.
There you have it. That's our take. Hot take. Real cutting edge stuff right here.
Like we said in the like episode 1, like probably a lot of things we say in all these episodes, nothing is revolutionary.
Right. No, but I do think like I don't know. I get frustrated sometimes when people emphasize too much that
Oh my god, no.
the
same.
gear doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It does matter.
Like if everyone keeps preaching to beginners that gear doesn't matter, especially if these beginners have the goal of, becoming where that professional is who's
Yes.
teaching them, telling them it doesn't matter, you're lying to
You're
them.
hurting them. You're hurting the like potential of what they could be reaching.
Like I think it's important to just tell them like it does matter, but to make sure they're aware of like the reasons why it matters.
Yeah. Yes. And so wherever you can start, just start. That's the main thing. But just know if you want to do this at a higher level, you're going to need to invest in
Yes.
some gear for sure. All right.
The other thing that I want to say before we end
Oh, yes.
is we just want to kind of highlight something that we want to start doing in the future. So we have this form that we will leave linked in the description here, and we'll be posting it on like our Instagram and stuff too. I think it's in our Instagram bio, so go there. But basically it's a form where you can go and fill out a story. So in the future, we want to do some like written by you type episodes where we just kind of sit down and read stories that are written by you, the audience. Like whether
Yes.
doesn't matter what title you are, a videographer, photographer, coordinator, graphic designer, even
Event
even
planner
a
or
bride,
something.
like the
Yeah.
people, the
Yes,
client, like
the client.
anyone.
Yes.
We just want to hear stories about like the production day or whatever it may
Yes.
be, good, bad, the ugly, like everything. Like anything that you think would be like an entertaining story that you would probably just tell your friend while sitting over coffee. Be like, dude, you got to hear this story. Like that's the stuff we want to hear.
Yes.
Everything will be anonymous. So if you have a story that you'd like us to share, feel free to go fill out that form. And then in the next couple months, we will be having a For You, written by you episode.
Yep.
So we will be featuring your stories.
Yep. We'll read some stuff. Hopefully, we'll all get a kick out of some of the things that are written. We'll learn
Yes.
some important and valuable lessons.
We have a few written already.
Oh my God.
And they are hilarious.
So funny.
So I'm just waiting for some more.
Unbelievable.
And
I don't think I have anything like some of these.
see, okay, same. I kept thinking,
I'm
I was
trying to
like,
rack my brain.
have I ever? I think my problem is I just can't remember.
Me too.
I'm sure
probably tried to black 'em out.
something has happened, but I just can't think of it.
I know. We'll have to, we'll talk. We'll have to see. But for now, if you have stories, send them our way. Go to our Instagram bio, hit the link, and share them. We will keep them anonymous, unless you want us
Yeah,
to
if you want to
share.
say names, go ahead.
Yeah.
But like if you are trying to hide it,
We got you.
we won't say anything.
No snitching here. Snitches get stitches. Okay. Well, thank you. This was a little bit of a longer episode, but I
was.
think we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
If you have any questions, send us your questions. Send us your thoughts if you agree, if you disagree. And as always, check us out on Instagram at The Humble Hustle and Spotify and YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also on YouTube if you want to see the video
Yes,
version.
For sure. Thank you for listening and watching.
We will see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.